Greetings and welcome to In-Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. We are here at Kaiso House and we're going to have a conversation with Mr. Roderick Chuck Gordon. Chuck, I want to thank you for making the time, but it feels as though this conversation is about you, but it's not about you.
Right.
There's so many other things that I want us to speak about.
Yeah.
But I want us to start with you giving a word, and I say, let me preface it. When you're singing about the Mats and I feel like the whole of Malik was on the stage with you.
Right, and Malik and some, the whole of Best Village actually.
You understand? So start off with a word about Northern Fullerton and his influence, please.
Wow. One of the major contributors to the cultural landscape over the past, let's say, 3 to 4 decades, I would say. And that's in the Best Village and cultural landscape. But me personally, a father figure, a mentor, the man responsible for pulling together my presentations and some of the major successes. And personally too, a brilliant mind, somebody you could always go to, very neutral and objective, so you always expected a sound response or really sound advice from Mr. Fullerton. And it was testament to his character. He was able to, deal with situations. You never saw Mr. Fullerton vex at any point. You ask him anything, he always knew how to respond. So I mean, one of the best figures we have seen in Trinidad and Tobago history, I think.
Is sound advice the advice you always want to get?
No boy. No boy. We tell you as it is, and you take it or leave it. The kind of individual he was. But you knew that it was coming from a good place.
Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Fullerton, man. Fullers, rest in peace.
And in terms of coming from a good place, what are some of the things that have influenced changing of your name? Because sometimes I do different things with my name in my mind, even though somebody might see it spelled the same way.
Right.
But Chucky, Chuck.
Yeah.
What?
I just felt, it would have given me an air of maturity. The Chucky was a childhood name that was bestowed upon me, so to speak, very early in secondary school. If I tell you why, you will understand. It was simply because I was very small. Still small in stature compared to fellas like yourself. I had plenty mouth, but more than that, I had 3 big brothers, 2 step-brothers and 1 biological brother going to the school. So I was bad and bougie, as the young people would say.
That's not like bad and bougie, that's not like miserable. Because you have people behind you to back it too.
Yeah. So that name went on from secondary school to A-levels to university because I was able to keep some of the same friends who attended school with me. So in the process, I just felt that was one time, and moving into more maturity as an artist, somebody who I think my ethos and my essence as an artist is to represent a level of class. I think Chuck Gordon has a nice ring to it, and that was the main reason behind the decision.
Okay, but you're also, I think you consider yourself more than an artist now.
Right, yeah.
So how does that play into what is you do now, and what takes up more space in terms of mental investment? Because I know last year you would have managed the tent.
Right.
So what are some of the things that you really focused on during this period?
It's a combination of my 2 primary streams of involvement, which is both calypso and social work. So I'm constantly thinking in my social work how I could introduce calypso and get people to understand the importance of the arts in terms of the institutional work that I do. In calypso, I'm always thinking, how can I introduce social issues? How can I make my calypso, my Jiggy Calypso, more palatable, more relatable, more interesting to a younger audience, so that the ideas that I'm trying to introduce of a social work nature, it can be better received. So it's always trying to find ways of combining my 2 streams of thought continuously.
You sound like you're going to continue nibbling around. But in terms of that social work, what is it that you're involved in?
I'm involved in youth rehabilitation primarily, and obviously that involves a lot of parental and family work, and then at the macro level, societal level, exploring how policy, how the absence of policy affects all those levels. So I'm intervening constantly at the child and individual level, parental, family, looking at communities, but also looking at the ways in which policy in the future can kind of improve the situation, which is one of the areas that we sorely lacking in the country.
But do you find, and bleed is not the word that I want to use, but you just spoke about it a little bit, one influencing the other,
Right.
and then that looping back on itself.
Yeah.
Do you find that you have to work hard
Right.
to give another type of energy? Because I remember you talking about, it seems as though sometimes the lamentation calypso gets a little more forward in the arena where calypso, big word calypso, is judged.
Yeah.
You were doing that with, I think, Live for Local with Charlie
Right,
Lewis, also
right.
on TTT, look
Right.
out for those.
Right.
But is it that you need to consciously say, nah, going and inject a little jigginess?
Yeah. It's a conscious choice. Because it's part of my being. That's who I am. I'm also a artist who enjoy performing and the performative aspect of it. You know, the best village in me, so to speak, come out because I want to move, I want to dance, I want to entertain. So that's a natural part of who I am, and it's also because I've done soca music for such a long period of time. So it's natural for me when I'm working a piece of material, whether in terms of writing or collaboration or in studio, looking at ways in which I can keep that energy going. But more importantly is about making it palatable. Making it, so Jiggy Calypso is essentially danceable melodic storytelling. So I want to make it as danceable as possible so that even though it's something serious I'm dealing with, it might seem fickle in terms of the chorus, right? The chorus might just seem like Martin, very simplistic. But inside the verses are dealing with serious issues. And that's the balance that I hope to strike and continue to strike. Much in the vein of people like Black Stalin. You know, if you listen to Black Stalin or Penguin, it's the same kind of style or treatment. You know, the chorus is very simplistic, but inside the verses, they're hitting hard, they're serious issues.
So it's almost sometimes I feel like it's a spoonful of sugar before the next dose of Sene,
That's right.
or if you're older, you know about things like Chin Podium come for you.
Yeah.
And even like outside of the space of Trinidad and Tobago, Chuck D was talking about that with Public Enemy and the fact that Flavor Flav
Right.
would make something seem a little ridiculous,
Yeah.
so it opened up. So you're not on the back foot, you're not resisting some of the messages that come in the verse.
Absolutely. So when you ask the question about, you know, my, not so much the issue with Lamentations, but the fact that they have been rewarded to such an extent, for me, this is my way of trying to reorient the game, so to speak.
But there's some calypsos that, and this is going backward. There's some calypsos that sound like they could be soca. There's some soca that sound like it could be calypso.
Absolutely.
But now it feels as though
It's
you want to
just-
make this kind of
Yeah.
divide, the schism.
I call it the artificial separation. You know, soca is soca and calypso. For me, this is my separation. My separation is you have party music, you have calypso, and you have party music. So a song could be a hit in the parties, but I could call it calypso because it tells a story.
And I'm gonna say, I'm not sure how to deal with that too tough. Because I remember somebody, and let me call name Jarrell Forbes.
Right.
Because the Custard King daughter, talking about one of the baddest calypsonians she's seeing right about now is Orlando Octon.
Right, yeah.
I don't know if he would call himself a calypsonian.
Yeah. I definitely call in Orlando a calypsonian.
But these storylines that, and it's outside of people talking about Carnival, Bacchanal.
Yeah, Fete, Rum,
Wet,
Woman, Jam.
Because even like remembering Brother Resistance, a blessed mention, when he said he did the song Drum and the Bass, he said he decided he not going to use the word waste in the song, but it ran easy and it rhymed. But so you want to wrestle with it and do it a little differently.
Yeah, so fellas like Orlando doing it. I mean, I can't mention too many others, but it makes sense in the context of why even songs that might be popular on radio that fall into the soca rotation, so to speak, not bikini parties, because it seems like in the parties you can only have party music. So that is my separation. You have calypso, you have party music, but it's artificial nonetheless, you know.
Okay.
And Jiggy Calypso is my way of trying to deal with that.
Okay, we're going to make a little separation here from one half of the conversation to the other. So we're speaking with Chuck Gordon. Stay with us. We return with more.
Right.
Welcome back. We are speaking with Chuck Gordon. And just before we took that break, and before people sing about coconut and giving jelly, before people asking about how mango sweet, so you were singing about Portugal.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
So
yeah.
even like having a concept and helping to bring it out using Best Village elements and stuff.
Yeah.
What goes into things like that for you?
Just being able to find the relationships between, well, my experience in Best Village and my understanding, particularly of characters and the meaning behind certain things, and then being able to say, well, I want to bring that to bear in terms of this particular concept. So, for example, Portugal was, the way I think is it's an average concept. I mean, the song Portugal, but in terms of the sweetness behind it, I was able to form that connection and then use the concept of the carnival characters to bring that to life. So it's about understanding what you have and forming the relationships.
And I really appreciate the fact that, okay, well, there's this level, there's this level, there's this level, or some people might say there's this level, there's this level, because
Right,
you're going deeper than that.
Depends, yeah.
But do you find yourself looking at things like that? Because sometimes I see you in a position that's kind of in the middle.
Right.
So you're able to have conversations and experiences with
Right.
people who are a little older, seasoned in the
Right.
game, looking at people who are coming in.
Yeah.
What is that like? Is it that you actually no? Let me just ask, what is that like?
I enjoy that space, you know, because there's so much to learn from the elders, and there's so much that I think people who coming after me seem to avoid or not be interested in. So they call those in our generation kind of like the last of the Mohicans, so to speak. But with that statement is an important responsibility as well to maintain the aspects of the tradition. One, but also it needs some reviving and it needs some administering and it needs some coloring in order for it to to remain important, because I mean, at least it's important to us. So if it's important to us, it's important for us to continue to share that. So that middle point, that bridge between the two generations, what it means to me is carrying on the work. Yeah.
And do you
but I enjoy it though. I enjoy
Okay,
it.
and that's a blessing.
Yeah,
Because
it's a
sometimes
blessing,
some
yeah.
people just feel the
Yeah.
weight of the responsibility
Yeah.
versus enjoying that I am blessed to be able to carry this
Yeah.
legacy and
Yeah.
and be able to speak different languages.
That's right. Well, I love learning, and you learn from both sides, right? And in that learning, I get inspiration, and it infuses me with a sense of, hey, I could do this. I could adjust here. I could evolve here, because you're dealing with two streams, two primary forces, and the coming together of it is where the resurgence has to happen, the coming together of the two energies. And that's part of our work. Those of us who've been singing Calypso for over 20 years now, that is our work. Our work is to add value to what we have and to bring it to life again.
But how you add value when you have people say, a good right there, no?
Right, yeah.
and I look squarely at your experiences.
Yeah. So when you get that kind of response, your practice your practice has to reflect what you're about, what your intention is, and Jiggy Calypso is an expression of that. I am doing the work that I think is necessary to bring forward that resurgence. And we can no longer say that Calypso by itself could work, because we see other art forms, especially in the carnival, namely soca and pan, evolving the way in which they engage audiences. And it is necessary for us to do that as well. So the way how I evolve my work and my practice, or to set an example, is through the way I choose to do music, which, interestingly enough, when I say engaging audiences, I had a nice experience, and the two persons who were working with me some days ago, I was able to sing these two songs, the same two songs, in a carnival fete, and then come and do it in a Calypso show. And we just stood there and reflected on that, and I say, well, that is the work. Because I'm using my work to engage audiences differently. And I think that that is necessary. So the practice of it is my response to the gesture, to demonstrate, where I think we need to go.
And with that evolution, with that direction you think we need to go, do you think and we go back to the word responsibility, do you think it's more on the artists and their practice, or administration and the way things are created, curated, organized?
Absolutely both. Both. But I mean, not everybody might have a level of feeling toward the work to approach it in the way that I might, or Orlando Octave, or Karina Shea. So there are definitely things that the organization, I think, can do. And the main thrust in the organization is the competition. And I think the competition in and of itself can be an important beacon for change if adjustments to policy and criteria is done. So yes, the artist can engage in the practice, but the organization can also do a number of things to transform the work and bring back the audiences.
Okay. Well, people are going to see this conversation after judging night at Kaiso House.
Right.
Do you think that just that judging in and of itself influences one, subject matter, and two, the way that a song would be performed? You say, hey, how we do that so tonight?
Right. Well, yeah, because you have criteria to fulfill. That's the number one. That's your priority, so to speak, And that is one of the areas in which I think adjustments could be made to help to, because one of the things I always say is we have to find ways of rewarding a brown boy with a humor, or a Bunny B, or a Lady Aisha in the same way that we might reward a Tizaya with something a little more serious, albeit Tizaya think jiggy and danceable. But you know what I'm saying? We have to structure the criteria and re-socialize the minds of who's judging into the thinking that, hey, we have to find ways of seeing a song for what it is and judging it accordingly, and not allowing something that you might see as frivolous or fickle to lessen its importance. So that's one of the ways I think the thing could be adjusted. But to answer your question, yeah, because and answering it with an example. So the song that I'm doing in the tent is not the song that I'm entering the Monarch with, right? So I chose to do this song in the tent, Don't Say Nothing, which I have taken and made it socio-political. Intentionally. That was the intention behind recording this song in the first place. When I finished, I had a nice performance the other night, and 2 encores and niceness. A man meet me outside, he say, nice song, but with the lyrics. I say, what do you mean with the lyrics? They say, with the lyrics? I say, what do you mean, competition lyrics? That is the best way I can answer your question. The mindset is that for competition, it has to have a certain weight about it. So we've separated the tent and the competition. The competition has contributed to the tent separating entertainment and what is deemed to be important for competition. And we have to begin pulling the two back together if we had to re-engage audiences.
And you say that and you make me think about two people that I like to listen to, Black Prince and Kid Callaloo. Because the way that sometimes it feels as though a Calypsonian had to have this and have this flaming sword and whatever. And they are quite willing to be on the back foot and be the butt of their own joke. So like it's like this year wondering what problem Kid Callaloo have with a woman again. This kind of thing. And willing to open themselves to that level of vulnerability and bring people along for that ride. Because as we were speaking with Brother Mugdada, it's a conversation they're having. And we never one thing all the time because we're not a monolith. So with that, I wanted to close thinking, well, on thoughts of what Calypso could be. If it could be something a little more. And you could do it, you could answer with an example as well, huh? I'm not limiting you.
If Calypso could be a little more. I'm not sure if you mean in terms of the art or the spirit at one level, the art at the other level, or the practice at the other level, or if it's all three you're asking.
And with those, and some of the teachers that I appreciate the most, they used to leave me with more questions and answers. So I think this is how we're going to end the conversation. But we want to thank you very much, Roderick, Chuck, Gordon.
Yes, sir.
And we want to thank you on behalf of the entire TTT News team. This has been In Depth with me, Dike Rostant. Thank you so much for tuning in.